We're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. And today we're talking about Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 5, Saints of Imperfection. And I'm joined by another summit today, which is awesome. So PJ on the left, PJ from PJ's channel.
Hello.
And Newfoundland. How's the weather? Are you with the polo?
It's cold here, so yeah.
Nice. And then we have Sean from Trek on the Tube, our regular helmsman through these journeys.
Hello.
Hello there, good sir. Welcome back. And we have Fathery from Tex Trek. Hello.
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
If he's the helmsman, what am I? Can I be like the Tignataro guest star that just shows up sporadically?
I love Tignataro guest star, so yes, you can totally be.
But she surprisingly disappears in this episode, even though the last one ended with her standing right next to Stamets in the cocoon. And then by the time Burnham ran in there, Tignataro is gone. She's just like, it's time for me to clock out. I'm not working overtime. Y'all can handle this. I got shit to do, y'all.
That does sound like something she would.
There's literally no one around that cocoon. There's a big problem. There should be science officers and medical officers. There should be everyone around this cocoon. Why is Stamets the only guy there?
I mean, I think we're kind of just being nitpicky. I don't know what the actual time frame
the ship does seem like much more empty than it should be.
Yeah,
well, they do have a lot of science officers. Linus, he's got a silver shirt on. He could be down there sciencing.
We're gonna have a special segment on today's episode called the Nitpick Corner, and we're gonna just go like let loose on the corner. But before we get to that, we got to do the episode summary. And Sean, I think you have to adjust your sound.
I do. My sound is not good.
You're on shit sound.
Wait a minute.
There you go. That's not.
I can hear him.
Is this better?
Yeah, but he has He has two sounds. One is shit, and the other one's it gets. So I gotta let him know.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize for being on shit sound.
I don't know why you have to. Does anyone want to do the episode summary today? No? Yes? Yes? No? Maybe so.
I mean,
I can do it if you want.
Yes.
If it's necessary.
Do it, Sean. Go for it.
if you really want this.
Yes.
Okay, so the episode picks up, I'm assuming, moments after the last one left off, because we have a slow-mo montage of Burnham running from the bridge to
she runs
the
like
science, the spore lab. Yeah, she was doing her best Tom Cruise.
That's good form, like
Ethan Hunt impression, right? Yeah, I think it's because the uniforms are a little awkward. That they I saw in the behind the scenes that they had to like literally attach the top of the uniform to the pants. So maybe when they run, they detach or something. So anyway, good running. So the episode picks up where Burnham is running to the spore lab to figure out what's going on with Tilly. And it turns out Tilly has been kind of sucked into a cocoon that's brought her to the Upside Down from Stranger Things. So she's in the Marcella network.
It's like the Upside Down because it's neon. It's all neon and stuff.
It's the Upside Down pretty much, but a little
It's the Upside Down by way of Pandora.
It's Blade Runner. It's Cyberpunk Upside Down.
Because I'm gay, can I call it the gay Upside Down? Is that okay? Is that all right?
You can call it whatever you want. You're allowed to call it whatever you want. It's the mycelial network.
I call it.
Right?
I call it the Pride Upside Down.
The Pride Upside Down. The Upside Pride. Anyway, so the whole deal of the episode is they have to try and find Tilly. They have to try and get her back. And so that's the A plot. We also have a bit of a subplot where they finally find Spock's shuttle, so they're tracking Spock's shuttle. They try and follow him. He's being defensive or aggressive. I don't know. Depends on how you look at it. Turns out it's not Spock. It's actually Emperor / Captain Georgiou, working for Section 31. And so she's on board, and she brings Tyler on board. And then so the episode goes into the main plot, which is saving Tilly. They do a semi-spore jump, find themselves half locked into the mycelial network and half in prime timeline, like real space, right?
I like that you call it the prime timeline. Like,
well, I don't know. Timelines and realities are kind of a mixed thing in Star Trek. I mean, I don't.
Normal space is what they call it.
Normal space, yeah.
Normal
space. But then you see something like the whatever realm where the species 8472 comes in. I don't know. Is that so? That's like subspace or whatever it is. Does that count as like prime timeline? Does the Kelvin timeline have their own version of that? Or does that thing cross over both into the prime timeline and the Kelvin timeline and the mirror universe?
Well,
like
then
the
we get into
the timeline's just for us. It's like it doesn't matter in Star Trek. Like no one really knows where they just know they're in their correct universe, but we call it timeline for like story reference.
I mean, then you get the conversation of, well, you have alternate timelines, but you also have alternate universes. So are those the same thing, or are they different?
Yeah, well, I think it's just a different denomination. Whatever. Anyway, we find ourselves half in the mycelial network, half in normal space, right? And so a couple of the crew members, so Burnham, Stamets, go looking for Tilly, and so they find Tilly. And surprise, surprise, we also find like Kolber. And then so the whole episode deals with bringing back Kolber from the mycelial network, bringing back Tilly from the mycelial network. And we have this kind of subplot about Section 31 being involved with the chase of Spock, which is currently accused of killing 3 people. And there you go. That's my summary. Are you unhappy with my summary?
There is also a Section 31 ship there doing some stuff.
Yeah, the Section 31 ship just helps them helps them remove themselves from the mycelial network. They send in 3 tractor beams, which seem like a transition between the hooks and a real tractor beam.
Can we talk?
They were like a tow truck service.
Wait, what's that, PJ?
Can we talk about the opening scene after Burnham's monologue and then chasing the shuttle and how stupid that is?
What?
Well, tell us what was stupid about that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. For one thing, if you saw the trailers, you knew it was coming. It wasn't a surprise that it wasn't Spock.
Right.
Why can their sensors detect certain things sometimes, and then like they can't detect that it's not a half human, half Vulcan on the shuttle? Just to give them surprise. But what was the sense of the surprise? The surprise was completely spoiled by the marketing.
I didn't watch the trailer, so I didn't know.
Oh really?
I did
Discovery
guess.
has this huge problem.
I don't think they meant for any of it to be a surprise, because we also surprised by Dr. Culber was going to come back this season as well. Like we just didn't know how.
Issue, right?
What's that?
I was surprised that they were bringing him back. I didn't think they were going to do that until like the very end, but I like the way
they said that in season 1, episode 1. They said they would kill him, but then bring him back. They marketed the entire series on that. That they have this huge problem where they create all this drama. They drama everything on the bridge and everything, but they've already told us that they're going to kill Kolber, bring him back, and that reinforces his relationship with Stamets. So why all of this suspense?
Culber's death was actually a shock to me. I guess I missed all the we're gonna kill him.
The way they killed him was shocking, because I didn't expect him to be snapped by Vox/Tyler. But we all knew he was gonna die. And we also knew we was gonna bring him back, because that was part of the struggle and the depth of his relationship and what reinforces his whole love story with Stamets. Like they told us this when the season began.
Die. But they did.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Immediately after he died, they spoiled his return. Like that night on After Trek, they said, "Oh, he's going to come back."
They're very worried. They said that they were going to kill him, right? And then they killed him. But then they get backlash from the LGBT community. So like, don't worry, we're going to bring him back. We're not killing off the gay character. anyway, it's kind of weird. They have these problem with marketing, and as you say, with the same thing with Emperor Giorgio, it's like kind of like we know that.
Well, when
it's not
when
gonna
I
be
first
Spock.
saw this,
Why are you doing all the drama?
when I first saw this episode on Air Night, I was like super into and thrilled by the opening sequence because I did actually think Spock was in the shuttle. Like I know that they didn't like, like I actually thought it was cool that, and then when Pike pulls that maneuver with like exploding the torpedo, all of that was just hella Star Trek. I thought because it was just like so well executed. Like Pike's just like, oh, he's trying to go into the fucking nebula. No,
We lost Starfleet boy, or
I don't know. I feel like I
Yeah,
lost Starfleet boy.
He went into the nebula.
Oh god damn, we've lost the host, people. Yeah, it reminded me of that one episode of TNG. You're back.
Oh, he's back. Back from the nebula.
We lost you. All three of us lost you for a minute.
Oh, you did? I was just talking to
Yeah.
myself.
Yes,
Yeah.
you were.
Dancing
went into the nebula.
with myself. Well, I said something really cool and exciting, which was that I was excited by that scene, and I want to see like Spock, Pike, a la Hunt for Red October, actual like chess game of wits, between the two of them, and see what happens. It would be pretty cool.
the Spock storyline has just been a tease, and that's okay so far. But in the first episode, Michael is expecting to see Spock. She doesn't see him. That's fine. But then they do it again where she thinks she's going to meet Sarek, but it's really Amanda. And they have all these excuses for why they can identify who's on the ship at certain times, just so they can have that surprise. And then they did the same thing with Giorgio. They say Spock like 4 or 5 times.
So I think
like,
it's
Spock's
standard
there, Spock
practice.
Spock this, Spock that, and it's like, no, I know it's not Spock.
PJ, is it fair to say that the show has been Spock teasing us?
Yes, that is true.
To be fair, I think that when you have certain minor level screens up, like you actually can't detect who's on board a craft. So like you can like for example, when you go to maybe yellow alert, I don't know the specifics, Father, maybe.
We lost him again, didn't we?
Gone again. Oh my god, this is terrible.
This is like without having shields up, without not knowing who's on board the shuttle. You know what I mean? Like I think there is a explanation.
You keep disappearing on us.
It all seems dependent on like whether they want to surprise us with another trick. Like in the next episode, is this Spock, and then it's not him again?
That doesn't bother
episode
me.
8 or 9.
I don't mind them drawing it out. I would kind of like Spock just to be towards like the very end of the season.
I don't care about waiting for Spock. Like he can show up in episode 8 or 9 for all I care. I just don't like them trying to like trick us and like, oh, we got you. Oh, we got you. Oh, it's not Spock. Oh, it's not Sarek. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I think their expectation is that people are going to be way more excited to see Spock than I think a lot of us actually are. I know, speaking for myself,
I've seen Spock so much, too much in all of Star Trek. I'm over him.
Yeah, I want to see more of these characters right now.
I want to see more. I want to see more of number 1 and Lieutenant Nan, right? That Bazan.
There's no interaction between those two at all.
No,
his one.
Well, she's wearing a scant, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's cool, but then other than that,
was it called a scant? Was it called a scant? The original series, or was it a skirt?
It was called a skirt, although I think that's technically a dress
or a dress.
It's all like one piece.
Yeah, she's wearing like an original series style dress, I think it is. But then it's less revealing, isn't it? It's longer.
Like she has pants on under it.
It's more appropriate.
I mean, like those original series uniforms were ridiculously short. Like no official organization would ever have that.
If a woman in the 23rd century wants to wear a really short skirt around the TOS times, like maybe they'll be more progressive that way. But now, in this time right now, it seems like they're very formal. Even the TOS
Yeah.
style uniforms are more military and.
I mean, Dax very much enjoyed wearing that dress when she went back in time.
Yeah, that was
Jellicoe was sexually uncomfortable around Troy because of what she was wearing, and Troy didn't see anything wrong with that. You know what I mean?
But that's something that Nichelle Nichols said about playing Uhura in the '60s. Was she said that a lot of the women actresses on the show felt that being able to like wear something like that was empowering, and at the time it wasn't really viewed as a problem because it was like women taking ownership of their sexuality, which you know in the '60s was a very different conversation than what we have now. But
it's true.
And men can wear skirts too, like men wore skirts in TNG.
That's part of the Star Trek canon that men can wear skirts also.
Well, then they're called scants. So that's when we get the scant.
I see.
So that's like, I guess it might be the unisex version of a skirt or something like that. But have you guys been to conventions? Have you ever seen anyone cosplaying in a scant? Because I see pictures of it all the time. I think it's popular.
I have a friend of mine from Quebec that him and two of his mates, they went to Star Trek Las Vegas and they all wore scants, all three of them. They had like one of each division, all right. So he got them custom made and all. It's real good.
So I'm gonna go to Star Trek Las Vegas this year. Who's gonna come with me and wear a scant?
Oh dear Lord, no.
I might wear a Utilikilt. I don't know if I'll wear a
Utilikilt.
Have you ever heard of those? God. Anyway, and that's our ship for Utilikilt. Everyone go out and get one. You didn't in your summary. You didn't mention Voke, part of Section 31.
I don't find it worthy of being mentioned. At this point, okay, maybe it'll turn into something interesting. At this point, it's just useless. I just feel like they have this guy signed on for like 7 seasons, and now they just don't know what to do with him, right? It's like, damn it, we need to keep this guy on the show. What are we gonna do? Because they already got rid of his wife, they got rid of his kid, they got rid of everything. It's like, I don't know. The only interesting thing he has is his comm badge, because it shows us that the TNG style comm badges, or the comm badges that arrive later on with the communicators, originated from Section 31.
They really confused Pike too. He was like, "What the hell kind of communicator is that?" We have that Bluetooth technology now, but
he's all mad because he's like, "Can't you use a screen like everyone else?"
It does make sense.
I'm going to talk to people on Skype.
I'm not a big fan of how they're trying to backtrack on like their advancements in technology, which is something that didn't bother me in the first place, like holograms and stuff. And now they're like, we got to rip them out and just have a balance. Use some hologram stuff, use some screen stuff. Just balance it out. You don't have to.
There's this juxtaposition of really outdated tech, like the communicators that open and the holograms, which is
find a middle ground.
Yeah, but there's no middle ground. They just do two extremes, and it's dumb.
Yeah,
it's like,
I look at it as this, like the Star Trek, the original series that we all saw, is almost entirely from the perspective of the crew of the Enterprise, and so it makes sense that there are no holograms. Like that little line from Mike explains. That little line explains
the original
that
series.
There's no holograms. And if we're gonna call bullshit, then, and a lot of people consider, or I guess it is considered official, the animated series has that room, which is basically a holodeck that's Sulu or someone's like, powering in the one scene. So I do think that it's like, just like today I guess just like in real life, like this in the FBI may have access to technologies that are a little bit more advanced than what maybe the military is using or what. And so it's like, one can imagine that the Discovery being having this experimental spore drive technology has like the state of the art, latest and greatest experimental stuff. Whereas the Enterprise later is actually retrofitted. It's interesting to imagine that through Discovery, we're going to actually see the Enterprise transform the Enterprise that we know and love. I'm curious how they're going to do it, because obviously it doesn't look anything like it at the moment. And we've only seen Spock's quarters on the inside. That being said, I also had to reconcile. I had a huge problem. I hate prequels, first of all. I problem that the show's set where it is, because all of these things wouldn't matter if the show were set just, you know, past G, like it would have been totally fine. But like I do have to say that like I find it less of a problem this season, because the performances, the stories, the visual effects are just better. Like somehow it's like making it less important to me that all these incongruities are there.
It definitely is more fun and has more sense of joy and humor, and it's lighter and it's bouncier and all this. It's well, you know, it is what it is. It's
that kind of brings up something that I wanted to talk to y'all about, and that is the reaction to Star Trek Discovery is overwhelmingly positive with the more like mainstream TV community.
Yeah.
And a lot of the criticisms are coming from the Star Trek fandom side of things. And it kind of, and I've been very positive on the show overall. I think I like it more than a lot of old school Star Trek fans. I do have my problems with it, but it kind of surprises me that a lot of the TV critics really love it so much. Like I have a friend here where I live in Austin who reviews television, and he told me the other day that it is one of his favorite TV shows on the air right now. So
The Expanse is my. I think he hasn't seen The Expanse.
Too, but
oh, okay.
But I'm just it just kind of surprises me that Star Trek Discovery has done such a good job at catering to the modern TV audience.
Yeah,
if you check out, but it just has to be better constructed, better. Well, you know, there are so many, like in this episode. Can we get back into like some of the things in this episode? Like, for example, you know, Giorgio and her inconsistency, I find, and I'm not really too fond of Michelle Yeoh's acting, and I hate to be a nitpicking little bastard and like criticize shit, but she's there eating an apple and like it's so cliche. CinemaSins would have had a field day with her. It's like,
well, CinemaSins isn't very intelligent criticism.
She would even go stars, Miss Turner.
CinemaSins is deliberate nitpicking. I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing personal against movies, I don't think.
There's also Cinema Wins now, where they say everything good in the movie.
Oh my God. Anyway, to build off what you were saying, if you check out like the IMDb top 10 list of like best current ongoing shows, Discovery is in there. Discovery is huge with the mainstream audience, which is something that, I mean, I suppose we should all be happy about as Trekkies, because it means that's what's getting Star Trek like to expand, right? If Discovery hadn't been such a mainstream success, then we wouldn't have had all these other spin-off shows. And I kind of feel like Discovery wasn't made for us in the first place. It was made to be the mainstream show. And now that it's successful, we might get these niche shows like The Return of Picard. We might get a limited run on Wrath of Khan. And those are the kind of like limited series that will be for us. Because I mean, now we're talking about two animated shows, one which is a more adult, Lower Decks, which is more adult, and then there's going to be like a full-blown kids show that's going to be out on Nickelodeon.
And in 2 months, there's going to be an animated short trek.
Yeah, and then we're getting animated short treks. I think that's like to kind of show us that they can do animation. I think that'll be the first McMahon project, just to show us what he's trying to do. I know he's working on Solar Opposites at the moment, but
I think
it is a successful show.
I think there's a specific group of fans that we tend to gravitate towards, and that's fans that have like pretty much seen everything, right? Like, and have read technical manuals and have like books and like are like super deep into Star Trek. But I don't think that's like the majority of the audience, even of old Star Trek. Like even William Shatner, makes fun of the 80s on SNL. He did this skit where they were at a Star Trek convention, and he like tells Star Trek fans to get a life, basically. And so I think like
If he said that now,
where
there
are
would be
you?
outrage.
He pretty much told me that one time in person.
That's amazing.
No, I just can I tell my Shatner story? One of my Shatner stories.
Yes,
But
please.
This okay.
Shatner story.
I must tell this one real quick. So I was at a con where he was doing a Q&A panel with Scott Bakula. And it was so weird because Scott was getting so many more questions than Shatner. And there was a lot of Quantum Leap fans like asking him about like, oh, the last episode of Quantum Leap, and will we ever see Sam again? And just all this Quantum Leap questions. And you could tell like Shatner was kind of in a bad mood because he wasn't getting any attention. And so I'm like, well, I feel bad for him. So I'm going to ask him a question. And so I asked him, I said, I thought it was cool when Kirk became Admiral Kirk and then they turned him back into Captain, but I thought Admiral was a lot cooler. Do you wish that you could have stayed an Admiral, or did you like being a Captain? And he said to me, he says, well, I didn't really care because I understood it was all make-believe and wasn't real.
God damn.
Shatner strikes again.
You got
shat upon.
Yeah.
God damn.
Wow, that's a good story. I'm sorry. That's actually worse than Gary's Brent Spiner Twitter incident.
What happened? What happened there?
I just remember something by Brent Spiner made some kind of snarky comment or something like that. I don't remember the specific.
Gary Tricker Price has these character data files videos.
Oh, that's right.
He breaks down the characters, and so he broke down Data, and he sent it to Brent Spiner on Twitter, thinking maybe he'll watch it. And so apparently Brent did, and he said that, like, he had like this backhanded compliment where he said like the video is great, but maybe you should try and breathe a bit. Because Gary speaks very quickly and he's all very enthusiastic in his videos. And so Gary didn't really know how to take that.
And then he had a complex about talking fast after the.
Oh no.
Like, if you look at, like, if you watch his data files in order, you get to the Data one, he's speaking pretty quick, and then you get to the next one, he's all, calm and collected.
Well, maybe he's just giving him some helpful advice.
I think it was.
Yeah, I want to really dive into Culber and what the PJ brought up, which I'll let him talk about in the nitpick of the episode. But before I definitely want to talk about. But I have a question for you guys, which I just forgot. Great.
Maybe it'll come back to you.
What did you guys think of?
Of what?
What?
You're like, who's Leland? Leland, the Section 31 captain.
You cut out. We didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, you're transmitting from the nebula today. You're all cutting out.
I'm fully in the nebula.
You are, Starfleet boy. You're cutting in and out.
Yeah, I know. I'm fully in the nebula, but that's why we do a separate audio recording, because
we're gonna blast your ass with torpedoes and then tractor beam you back.
Exactly.
Cut that out.
God.
But yeah, Leland, like
I'm trying to think. What do we think of Leland?
I'll just go ahead and go first, but I really did not like the way that Section 31 was used in this episode of Discovery, because it contradicts so much of what we saw in DS9 and Enterprise. However, after I rewatched the episode a couple of times, I got over that a little bit, and I did kind of like the character Leland in Section 31 more than I thought I would. They're not as evil as I've always kind of pictured Section 31, and he was kind of helpful. He saved the Discovery. Of course, Giorgio had a role to play in that, but I like the chemistry between him and Pike. I loved Pike's reaction to Section 31, how he had no respect for Tyler being forced on his bridge, how he was so skeptical of everything 31 was doing, how him and Leyland have like this backstory, and the way that they were used for dramatic purposes was very effective. just to me, it's not as cool as the more secretive and mysterious Section 31 that we've gotten previously.
I have a question about Section 31, right?
Shoot.
Okay, so in Deep Space Nine, they're like a secret organization that no one really knows about. Right? They're in the shadows. You kind of don't really know about them. Sometimes they approach offices and try to get agents. And in Enterprise, it's the same thing. And so kind of the quarrel here is that in Discovery, they are kind of just the covert ops, right? Everyone knows about them. It's just that they kind of in the gray area. The organization's title, as I'm reading from Memory Alpha, came from the original Starfleet Charter, Article 14, Section 31. How the hell does Section 31 exist in Enterprise? There's no Starfleet Charter yet?
Well, there is a Starfleet before the Federation. That's the Earth Starfleet.
But it's like the Earth fleet, isn't it? It's not Starfleet yet in Enterprise.
They call it Starfleet. Like,
do they?
Like, yeah, Archer says that he's a captain in Starfleet. Like, they, that was one of the things that bothered me back in 2001 when Enterprise premiered, and I was being nitpicky about it, like how we're doing in Discovery now.
Okay, so it is a possible thing. Like, they did exist, so it is possible.
I was all the way. I was super against Enterprise. I actually didn't watch. I was like one of those people.
But it got so good in season 4, and then they canceled it.
Yeah, season 4, the best season of Enterprise. Anyway, so it does make sense. They went out with a.
Father, can you show off your badge, your Section 31 badge on the subject that you're wearing?
You can't see it because it's black on a black shirt.
I know.
This is a black shirt that has Ripper the tardigrade on it.
Oh, God.
It says Ripper. Ripper is my spirit animal.
That's amazing. But I actually really liked the scene. To me, rewatching it, I like between Pike and Leland because you can see that they were they are friends or they've known each other for a long time. What did you think of Admiral Cornwall coming back in this episode? There's so much stuff happening in this episode. It's crazy. Just like when they rescue Tilly and then there's still like 20 minutes of episode left. It's great. It's nuts.
Yeah. PJ, did you have anything about Leyland and Cornwell in Section 31?
Cornwell.
I like Leland. I don't like the way Giorgio treats him. It's like
blackmailing your boss.
She's threatening to expose his background to win a little fight, and I really don't like Giorgio. I think it's an inconsistent character. I mean, she's eating the apple. She's hissing at Michael, kind of insinuating threats against Spock, and then at the end of the episode, she's all like, "You gotta trust me." And
but
of course Michael's not going to trust her. Of course she can't be trusted. I think it's going to be like this predictable thing where she
trust them.
Really an actual real bad guy who they have to kill and stop at the end.
Well, it sounds like she's going to have the Section 31 show, so I don't think they're going to kill her on Discovery.
Oh, no, they're going to try. I mean, she's going to get away. Maybe Section 31 could be about her running from being hunted by Section 31. Leland is like...
I think
Leland is like Tommy Lee Jones, and she's like Harrison Ford. You know what I mean?
I love it.
I would like her to kill Leland. I would like her to take control of Section 31. She kills Leland, and that's why Section 31 goes all like off the chains, and that's why it goes kind of secret.
That could be, yeah. Right. That could work.
Or if like she releases a virus that goes and like attacks every Federation computer and erases any record of Section 31.
And every hologram.
Yeah, because Cisco in DS9 was like, I've never heard of Section 31. How can this be real? There's no
they're gonna resolve that. I think they're gonna make it so that something happens that's so bad that it is wiped out somehow, whichever way they do it.
I also think that they're almost setting up. I think that they're almost setting up for Giorgio too, though. For Empress Giorgio, I think it's important to call her that because we love Giorgio. I think unanimously, like the actual Captain Giorgio, who was like in Discovery for like 2 minutes, but Empress Giorgio, like in that scene where Tyler is holding his baby, there's that moment where she kind of like and shows a little emotion, and then here. She does the same thing again when they rescue the Discovery, when like everything you know, she almost has this. I don't know if you noticed it, but like, first of all, she buys them like three more minutes, but the actual scenes are like 20 minutes, and like they're. But anyway, she buys them 3 more minutes, and then at the end, when they like actually are successful, she has like a relief. Like her expression is that of relief. I know, PJ, you said that you don't particularly are not particularly fond of Michelle Yeoh's acting. I'm the total opposite. I've been a big fan of hers since Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
She delivers some lines like in the elevator, and when she's coming on a pike and she's talking in the elevator, it's like very well done. And then when she gets these long lines, it just doesn't sound right. She can't pull it off.
It's the role that doesn't suit her. She was great. Suit her, no. She was great as Captain JoJo. There's no question asked, because that, like, Michelle Yeoh is that kind of character. She's powerful, she's strong, she's confident, and so as this kind of like very good, honorable and decorated captain, it works. But then as this kind of scheming, villainous emperor, it doesn't work. It doesn't. She's just not good. She's not right for the role. Might as well be twirling
a mustache. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a shame that they didn't see that. It's a shame.
Yeah, I love all that. I think that
we could have had a Captain JoJo show, but the Emperor JoJo should have been killed off.
I think because we're having this reaction to the Empress, or the Emperor, I think she's doing a good job. I think that she's meant to be a character that you don't like, and so I think the reaction to it is maybe like appropriate.
It's not the character that I don't like; it's the acting. Yeah, that's the problem.
No, I'm saying like
Joffrey in Game of Thrones is a detestable character, but the performance is amazing. This is different. She's not suited for the role, or the role's not suited for her. She's an amazing actor, but in this specific instance, it's not working for me.
But she can do all like the cool action fights.
She can do that. That works.
Her acting doesn't bother me, but I do hear a lot of people have the same criticism that y'all are having. So I understand I'm kind of the odd man out on that.
Can I
was in the Nebula. I missed all that. Can you give me a quick recap? I was in the Nebula.
God, stay out of the goddamn Nebula.
I can't help it. I don't know what's going on here.
Long story short, both of them hate Michelle Yeoh's acting as Evil Giorgio. I think it's okay, but a lot of other people have that opinion. But she does really cool fight scenes, so that's kind of good.
I would have rather that Mira Giorgio play the good guy. She doesn't necessarily have to be so snide and snarky, and then in private moments be genuine. Like, why can't she just she's upset that she's in the Prime universe, but I mean, at the same time, isn't she having fun? Isn't she
the motivation to be in?
Hasn't she been given like this great opportunity? Like, so why is she flip flopping on like how she's acting? It's weird. It's weird.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a huge. I don't think when you're an emperor and like everything you want is at you're basically. I don't think anything could be as good as that again. You know what I mean? So she's gonna be constantly shoulder about it. Like, I just can't imagine life in 31 as cool as it is compares to like just saying, oh, go destroy that planet, and everyone does it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a whole different thing. Now she has red tape, she has bureaucrats, she has Leland, she's just like being handled basically constantly. And so I do think that like that's fitting.
But that's her fault. She chose to join Section 31. Why didn't she just friggin' leave Federation space, go somewhere else, and become the Emperor again? She could have done that. If she did it once in the Mirror universe, and she could have done that in the Prime universe, she could have done it again.
Maybe deep down, she really is trying to be the good guy, and that's just gradually being revealed throughout the season.
So, do you want to see a redemption arc with the character that used to eat people and be a xenophobic, racist dictator?
And she's worse than Hitler. She's literally worse than Hitler. She's killed so many more people than the worst people in history in any universe. So
yeah, I mean
let's see if she can be good. This is like the story of if Hitler could be a good guy or something. I don't know.
You guys,
you know what I mean? Like it's when you really think about it. I mean, she doesn't deserve to be like Roman free.
Oh
And
yeah, she deserves to be put on trial for.
And
She's gonna get her own
it
show.
seems like Michael regrets
She's gonna get her own
bringing
show.
her back, right?
We
Michael
can't
almost
judge her. We can't. It's like that episode with the Husnak. We can't really judge her for her crimes because we don't have a frame of reference for it. Yeah, that delighted PJ that I said the Husnak. I also someone mentioned them being like grossed out by the apple scene, but I actually liked it because it kind of like tied into the Kobayashi Maru type thing where she's just kind of biding time eating an apple because she knows that she's not going to be detained. She needed like Leland to like give the word so to let her go. So I kind of like that, and I can almost imagine that the actual Giorgio might have had a similar quirk, and who knows, maybe Kirk got that from studying her when he was in the academy, or I don't know.
I liked how she dropped the apple.
Give PJ space.
What did you guys think of May?
I would be okay if we never saw May again. I'm not really sure what I was supposed to think about May in the show.
I liked her. I heard the most in this episode, but I don't know. I don't know what. I think you could leave.
Well, no, Tilly says that she believes the universe will bring them back together. They pinky swear.
Yeah, which is like wink, wink. We're gonna do it again, right? But
I also believe that the universe will bring me $10 million. So that hasn't happened yet.
That actress, though, the actress who plays May, she's a Canadian chick that has a really weird YouTube channel that all y'all should check out. She makes like really weird videos of her like singing in her apartment and weird stuff.
That reminds me, there was what's she called? I forgot what she was called, but one of the Klingons in season 1 was a Canadian actor as well. They like grabbed them like on Toronto, right? Because that's where they film. And she had this random YouTube channel as well, but she used to sing songs on a ukulele, but then she would sing like just inappropriate Lil Jon songs on the ukulele. Skeet skeet motherfucker. It was hilarious.
So they're casting on YouTube now.
Sean, you could be on Star Trek Discovery, dude.
Yeah, they tend to like only hire Canadians for that.
Well, Canadian actors, to be fair, not just Canadian randos. But,
and I happen to know that he wants to be an Andorian because of the forced genders or something like that. I forget what it was. It's like, so simply as an Andorian.
I want to watch an Andorian porn to see how all the four genders like connect together.
We're talking in Drunk Space Nine.
So how many types of uniforms do they have?
We're saving this discussion for Drunk Space Nine. So audience, if you want to know more about Andorian genders and Andorian pornos, feel free to listen to Drunk Space Nine when that episode is released. Wow, that totally threw me off. Where did the Admiral how did the Admiral get there quickly, or was there like a time?
They never show how anybody gets anywhere. There never any established. They saved like $1 million per episode without establishing jobs. Like where did number 1 come from when she beamed over in the last episode?
The use of the technology and the ships on Discovery is appalling. None of it makes sense, but it serves the plot.
Yes. Yeah.
There you go. Just use it.
But I think TOS is guilty of that too.
How
TOS came out in the 60s?
I know, but if you're gonna be like, but also TNG does it. DS9 does it the least, I think.
Mistakes of the past do not justify mistakes of today. We have to learn from
I agree. You're right.
I don't know how much of a mistake that is, not to show where someone's beaming in from.
It's not a mistake.
No,
it's a conscious decision to not give a shit.
I do dislike it. I do wish that I could see the ship or the planet or the starbase or whatever. But I feel like
Tilly murdered that person in the short tricks. She straight up murdered the princess.
Beamed her
Just
into
beamed them
space.
onto a rock into space, and that was it, right? I mean,
I'm wondering if they just think that that's maybe like boring and slow paced to show, like, you know, a lot of episodes of Next Generation would open with the Enterprise next to an Excelsior class starship because they were reusing the footage from Encounter at Farpoint in the USS Hood. And it's like someone is like, you know, so like a log entry. Captain Picard is like, yeah, so and so beamed over today to, you know, help us with this, and you go into the story. I think whereas on Discovery, it has a very high energy, fast pace to it that kind of feels like they might have borrowed from the Kelvin timeline movies. And I feel like they're trying to just incorporate that into the storytelling and don't want to waste time with an establishing shot that they don't need. I would love to see it though.
Yeah.
How does the character May? How does she not know things like she doesn't know what tears are? She doesn't know that Culber is a human. She's some kind of brilliant scientist of some sort, because her and Tilly have that conversation about how brilliant they both are. But is she tricking Tilly into hunting down Culber, knowing that she's been in Tilly's head too? She's been around other humans. She's been on the bridge, and so she knows what humans are. She knows that there are other species on the ship, and she sees Culber and doesn't recognize that. So her telling Tilly is a monster, is like her telling Tilly that Culber is a monster is like this weak plot device to give us that surprise, when all she could have said was, there's a man from your universe in here messing stuff up.
Except that he's not. So like she describes, so this is where I want to talk about Culber a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
So she describes in one scene, she says that after one of the jumps that Discovery did, they had an energy reading, like that the what are we calling them? The mycelial aliens, right? Or whatever. That they
Cossep.
Oh, what are they called?
Jossep,
yeah.
So the Jossep found this energy reading, and then they use their technology, you know, which appears to us like magic, to reconstruct Culber. But as we see later on, he exists in their universe, right? So he is a monster in a sense. I kind of liked it. I thought it was very like Frankenstein's monster, or like, you know, that kind of thing. It's like he's actually at that point he's actually not human. He is thing like, you know, unique to the mycelial network and to these aliens or whatever, to these beings, and he exists in a state that's like kind of like he functions human because that's how they reconstructed him. Like they just like used his energy to like transform him back into whatever approximate like. And then I think the reason why they refer to monster is because they thought like, oh, we're gonna like bring this thing back to life and it's gonna be cool. But instead he's like, he like goes off and like starts covering himself in, you know, whatever, the jub tree or whatever. I actually thought of this as like kind of like, you know, I think it's funny that but in season 1 they were doing a lot of Alice in Wonderland references, and Alice in Wonderland. I know, but they're not talking about him as much. Like, you know how Burnham was reading, you know, like when she's running away from the tardigrade, she's like saying a passage to herself. I wish they kept actually doing quirky things, which were cool, because this felt like Through the Looking Glass. It felt like Alice in Wonderland. It felt like he was the Jabberwocky in a sense. It had like that kind of, and I actually like, I had the same qualms at the first viewing, because it was a little, I think you have to watch it a couple of times to kind of start seeing these things. But then the transporter, the organic transporter, to a human again at the end, but universe. So I think he is something else. Mycelial
I
network.
like that idea.
And maybe that's
the organic transporter, and I'm sorry, and how they were able to use that to reconstruct them.
You could say that May is physically unable to see him as they do. Like she's
right. She actually, and there's all these. So I wish they had like a little more explanations, like the down stuff that you were talking about, the black goo that was like, you know, drifting
I
and
love
stuff
that
like that.
special
There's a
effect.
lot. Yeah, that was pretty cool. It reminded me of the season 1 water droplets or whatever, but it was very cool.
The way they brought Culber back was actually my favorite part of the whole episode, and right up to the point where they find him to the end of the episode is pure joy.
But I have one problem with it.
What?
And that is, they said that they could. Sorry. They said that they could resurrect him by using his DNA in normal space so that the cocoon could rebuild his body based on his DNA. I just wish that they would have had them actually like go get some of his DNA or something, like how in the Next Generation one time they had to save Dr. Pulaski by using her DNA from a piece of hair they pulled off of a brush and like beaming her through the transporter and reconstructing her with the DNA they got from a strand of her hair. Like, I wish they would have shown something like that for Dr. Culber. I always wish they had his corpse in like the morgue or something, and they had to like use that material because it kind of bothered me.
How cool would it have been if they actually inserted his dead corpse into the
Okay, his corpse is like a year old by now.
Yeah,
it's the future. It's the future.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have it on the USS Discovery. Why would you be like driving around with his corpse?
He's probably buried back on Earth or something.
Yeah,
Stamets actually won't let them take it away, and he takes it out of cold storage.
What a horrible person!
Well, okay, that was really bad.
Could have had his blood on fire. You know what I mean?
Father's like, no.
No, you can't do that.
That's but I think that would have been cool if you're right, Stamets just injected like a sample into the cocoon or something. You're right, but still, overall, I think though I agree with you, PJ. Like it all came together very beautifully.
And I love that scene because it actually tricked me when he puts his hand through and he can't come through. I thought that was really. I was like, okay, he's not coming back for good. And then they figured it out last minute, so I like that. So.
That's neat. I like the concept of like the idea behind the episode of going to like the mycelial network. I like the idea that there were like people in there, or like beings in there. I even like the whole concept of how they managed to like reconstruct Culber and how he couldn't, like, he's basically a hologram in their like mycelial network. I loved all that. It's just that there are like certain issues with the episode that bug me, and I think we could have spent more time on the science and explaining how the mycelial network is, and rather than all of the Section 31 stuff, which at this point is kind of useless.
And another thing about May not recognizing Culber as human is that she tells Tilly not to touch the bark of the tree. She says it's harmful to us, but how does she know whether or not it's harmful to Tilly? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I think she just kind of
doesn't want her to touch it and transfer it to her, I guess.
Culber's kind of an anomaly because he's made out of their mycelial matter and he's not of the normal space type of like that our universe type of material that's crossed over. He's something that, from her perspective, originated within the mycelial network. So,
I also love.
What do you guys?
I also love Pike, berating Tyler because he's basically a response.
Yeah.
The response that I had to him, like, why is he still on the ship? Why does everybody want to be his friend? Why are they so understanding? They're a little too understanding, I thought.
Pike is the physical manifestation of the Star Trek Discovery audience.
Yeah.
He's the one that's correcting season 2. He's the one that's asking the questions like, why the hell is Tyler on my bridge? He's the guy like, why the hell are we not using screens? He is us, but in the show.
Hashtag we are Pike.
We are Pike. Absolutely.
I like that a lot. Well, go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say, like, he like shows up and he's like, okay, tell me all of your names. No one knows any of your names.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have like some fun, and we're gonna get each other's back, and it'd be like a good Starfleet that takes care of one another. And what the hell is the spore jump shit? Why are you spore jumping? And it's like, turn off these holograms. We talk on screens. Section 31. I don't want you here.
He's the Twitter of Star Trek Discovery.
I do think it's brilliant in a way that CBS. It does feel like CBS took some of these critiques to heart. You know, I'm just saying CBS is a blanket. It's whoever's hard the show, which, you know, like I guess it's Alex Kurtzman at this point, but I do think it actually I think that also endeared to the show season, because I'm like, oh, you know what, like the show can correct it can, like, you know, solve some of these major like thought problems or whatever that are confusing. And again, like I said, I feel like season 2's whole job so far is like almost making season 1 invaluable, because like now you kind of have to watch season 1. Yeah, but like, you know, like you don't have to watch TNG season 1. You could get into it from like season anywhere, right? Like that's how the show's set up. But like I thought like, oh well, I'll never have to watch season 1 of Star Trek Discovery again. But now I'm like actually curious, because it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's things I missed in season 1. So, you know, I think season 2 is just like making up for so much stuff that happened.
I like the reference.
It's just a big continuous story. Anyway, if you were to watch, if somebody new who didn't see the show before, just started watching from 1 to 20, there wouldn't be a real break in the season like that they would notice if they didn't really know if it ended at 14 or 15 or 16. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So in that way, it's just if you're going to watch season 2, you pretty much have to watch season 1, unless you just watch the recaps. Yeah. Just watch the recap.
It just works with story arcs, doesn't it? You get the Klingon War story arc, now you got the Red Angel story arc, and then they'll find some other way to make Burnham still the main character in the 3rd season.
Well, she's going to be captain.
She is the main. Wait, sorry. Okay, Sean.
Okay, if they make her captain, then it defeats the purpose of the show.
Burnham is the main character of Star Trek Discovery. It's not that they're going to make her that, she is the main character.
No, I agree. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't formulate my sentence well. What I mean is, sometimes it feels like rather than having situations take place and following a character in those situations, they're creating situations for the character. Like they needed Spock and they needed Pike, or they needed Spock specifically, to maintain Burnham as the main character. If they didn't have the Spock arc, then what would they do to keep us focused on Burnham? What's the point of following Burnham? The point of following the captain is because the captain knows everything that's going on. There's a logic to following the captain and the main characters on the bridge crew on a ship, right? I would have loved to follow a first officer, like Burnham, like an actual first officer, because she's never been first officer. She's first officer in 2 episodes, and she's not an officer, now she's science officer. But I would have loved to follow the story of a first officer that transfers from ship to ship, and you kind of see her evolution as a character throughout Starfleet. That would have been good. But this isn't that. This is different. This is just Burnham and like her family matters.
Which I did think it was interesting. One of the scenes that stood out this episode was when she basically confronts your brother. I thought
back in the nebula.
Oh my god!
I think Sonequa Martin Green is a lot more comfortable in the skin of the character season. I do think that I think we're supposed to not like her after she commits, mutiny and is responsible for the death of her captain and a war. And then, and I do think, for me, the payoff wasn't as good. Like, I know that she gets her rank restored and everything. And to me, the whole Klingon War season 1 just,
it was
it's just, it feels like a hodgepodge.
She's a better character this season. She's a much better character this season.
She is.
So.
Because even before she does this whole thing with the war, even before that, you see her in an episode, and she's already a very annoying character. Like the human trying to be a Vulcan, she's all condescending and annoying. She's already a pain in the ass, and I don't know how Saru and Georgiou lived with her for 7 years. But
I think the actress herself kind of overdoes it here and there when she's trying to portray the human side, the emotion.
Sonequa Martin Green is a very good actor.
I appreciate what they're doing with her in that context.
In The Walking Dead, she was very emotional. She had very emotional scenes, and she was
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very good at that. But then they hired her because she's good at emotion to do an emotionless character, which was stupid. And
But
so
she
I
still
don't.
has emotion. She still has emotion
But,
come through. Like when she's crying on Saru's deathbed.
but then that's after, isn't it? In the beginning, when she arrives, she's supposed to portray like kind of an emotionless human. She's like a human emulating a Vulcan, and that was a bit of an awkward performance.
But then she mutinies against her captain out of a fear against the Klingons that killed her family, and then immediately after she's just burdened with unbearable guilt. Like they were putting emotion in the character, I think.
So then she just wasn't doing it right. The emotion was good at the Tyler death bit. It's just that I don't care about that specifically, that story. But the acting was good there.
I think the whole thing with Burnham in season 1, she has that Vulcan stoicism all throughout, right up until like episode 6, 7. Then she starts to like blossom as a human, I guess, when she starts falling in love. And now we're seeing like she's fallen in love, she's got her heart broken, and now she's on board with Pike, and she's liking Pike a lot more than Lorca. You know that?
Yeah, but that makes no
and
sense.
the better parts of her personality are coming out. So
that makes no sense on a story level because it like
well.
Okay, fine. It's only been 7 episodes since we've seen her, but it's been 7 years that she's been with humans. It's still, why does all of a sudden she starts?
Oh, that's the thing too. That whole time, that 7 years, she's been like that. But the thing that bugs me is that she doesn't know anything about Saru.
But if you watch,
she doesn't know he has a sister. She doesn't know his situation. She doesn't know pretty much, and she didn't know about his like. He had to explain his threat ganglia to her in like the first episode. But that's
I think it's become an inside. It's become an inside joke on Star Trek that like just don't tell you shit until you need to know. It's like but Sean, to your point, and also PJ, I do have to say that like in season 1, the one thing I did think that was maybe unclear, but that I do see them do is that like in the flashbacks, she arrives on the Shanzhou, she is like super Vulcan and everything like that.
I was gonna bring that up.
And then there's like the Burnham that we meet on May 11th, Battle of the Binary Stars, is kind of, she's playful. She's like making sparks at Saru. She's like, she's like
flying through the asteroid field.
Right. And it's her emotion that actually drives her to make the mistake of like, trying to protect the crew in this like weird way. So I do think that like they did the best job of showing it, but I do think that they tried.
Yeah, she was very different than when she stepped off the transporter pad with Sarek 7 years earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, they made a point of showing how stoic she was in that scene. She's like, oh, look how Vulcan she is. So you couldn't miss that, but
I find in episode 1 of season 2, it's like they went right back to the beginning with her, and then she changes episode 2 on. Like I find she's a completely different character. Like she's almost like she was when she met Giorgio for the first time before the 7-year journey on the Shenzhou. But I like the explanation behind Burnham's decision to kill Takuvma, which I didn't like personally, was that she's a human suppressing her emotions so much that when she reaches a critical point of decision making, her emotions get the better of her. And maybe if she learned how to balance that more, much like Spock will have to learn in this season, that's how you avoid making big mistakes.
They should have brought that up in the show, because that's a very valid point.
They probably will.
Cool.
What did you guys think of the performances in this episode?
Yeah, everybody but Michelle Yeoh, who was like on and off with me.
Okay.
I like the girl who plays May. I like her a lot. Not the character so much.
I really felt the emotion between Culber and Stamets, and I didn't want Culber to be fully resurrected. I kind of wanted him to, I don't know, maybe be like a Force ghost that can appear, or because I didn't want his death to have no consequence.
Yeah, that would go over well.
I didn't.
Well, okay, so that's something interesting to talk about is that like so now what happens to Tyler? We had all these reasons to hate him, and like he kind of gets a free pass.
It
which
is easier to
interesting.
forgive him now.
Yeah.
I think, and you're gonna have some cool drama between him being on the ship with Stamets and with Culber, and they even teased that with Stamets' reaction to seeing Tyler on the bridge.
Yeah, they did. I love that it was subtle. It was just a pause. Like he kind of like was giving a briefing and then he just looks up and pauses for I just really like again this season's just like on fire I think in terms of like
They have a briefing
subtlety
room.
and things like that.
They have a briefing room to do the briefings now. They've established that they have a table in which they can brief people.
I
They
didn't
still do it on the bridge for no
Ready
so
reason.
much cool.
Is the briefing room the same room as Pike's ready room, or am I mistaken?
For some reason they were having
It's very big and very nice looking.
I think the briefing room is different because they were having like soup or lunch briefing. The officers were having a lunch briefing room, weren't they? Wasn't
No,
that
just Saru was drinking
tea with salt.
That's it.
in it.
But when
okay.
at the end of that meeting in the briefing room, Pike walks in and sits at his desk. So
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
but that's
So
kind
he
of-
just like
the room is actually so big and so well designed that it can be shot in many different ways, and I like how like they're trying to shoot it in like the way it was shot in this episode in particular was very, very well done.
It reminds me of the original series where Kirk doesn't have a ready room, but they have that conference room that they have a lot of meetings in. And so I always just assumed that Kirk chose not to use a ready room because he just likes to be in the captain's chair. But that's what
maybe he did. And we just never saw it. That's all. You know what I mean?
Maybe this room that Pike is using as his office, maybe that is the Discovery equivalent of that TOS conference room.
Isn't that the Lorca room like redesigned?
No, the Lorca room redesigned is that new science lab that they have.
Oh, okay.
They're using the Lorca Ready Room set for that. That's what I thought at first, was that Pike's Ready Room was just Lorca's Ready Room redone. But you notice that you enter Pike's Ready Room through a turbo lift.
Yeah.
It like goes straight to the room. But
Yeah,
apparently
I think that like
you need a hallway. You need a hallway. It's stupid. The only access to your room is the turbo lift. That's just dumb.
Well, but
Maybe that's the only
I
access
feel
we're
like
seeing right now. I don't know.
it makes sense because you have that big bubble, you know, the sphere as the bridge on top, and then probably like all like you know his room. I don't know. It just we don't know what the Trekyards did a cool break, but we don't really know what the
no one knows. There's an entire shipyard inside the ship apparently. So
are we gonna get those guide to the Discovery, or are we gonna get Stamets' guide to the Discovery? What's it gonna be?
Oh my god!
What?
But Stamets is not an engineer.
I know, but he was kind of like the chief engineer during the science.
I wanted to talk about Mary Wiseman for a bit because honestly, I think her performances is sometimes like it's on and off. I mean, in the previous one of the previous episodes where she had that emotional moment with Burnham in the ready room, it was in their quarters. It was amazing. Both of the actors had like amazing performances, but in this, sometimes it just feels so friggin' forced and cringy, and the acting is not good. The moment she gets dragged out of the biotransporter and she appears in the mycelial network, all of that scene is terrible.
She bothered me in episode 1.
There's
one part in this episode I didn't like, and it's where she's walking with the rifle, and she's like, "This is the number 3 better than number 2 and 1." I'm like, that's not funny.
It's like she's reading the memory alpha page of a Type 3 phaser. It's like, it's often larger than the Type 1 or Type 2 and more powerful.
I don't know how to get out of here, but I'm going to leave. And she starts storming off, and it's like, you clearly, the way to get out is the same way you got in.
Did anybody notice
the cocoon there?
Did anybody notice the shot where her badge was on the other side? They had to mirror the shot because she was looking in the wrong direction. They didn't digitally fix it or whatever. That was funny.
I have enjoyed her from the beginning. I think
lost them.
The damn nebula.
He'll be back.
What's that?
You win the
just-
nebula again. You were saying you enjoyed Tilly since the beginning. That was the last we heard.
Section 31 doesn't want me to give my opinions today. They're
I
like,
know.
yeah,
It's like
they're
that, the guy pulling the microphone cords on Forrest Gump when he's trying to speak.
That's what it's like. Oh my gosh.
Well, I guess
audience...
the only thing I can say about Vietnam is and that's all I got to say about that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. What didn't we cover? Have we talked about everything? What more nitpicks do we have? Now we could go to the nitpick corner. Let's go full.
We've nitpicked.
Full nitpick.
The weapons locker is a hallway.
Yeah. And those aren't real guns. Those are the fake guns that they use in the VR room.
Also,
in First Contact, the weapon aren't they in the hallway too? Like, don't they just grab them from like one of the hallways? Like, if I recall correctly,
it's like a Borg protocol. Maybe like you press a button and it just makes your phasers appear in your hallways.
but don't they rip them like from? Don't they open panels in the hallway? And it's not just like a rack sitting in the middle of your hallway.
But it's still in the hallway. To be fair, right? Like, it's still just it's like. It's like there's like weapon. I bet you there's like phasers on every, hidden all over the ship just in case you're invaded, especially after the Klingon War. I would imagine it's like, we brought back the First Amendment after the Klingon War. Second Amendment. Oops, sorry. We also brought back the. Thank you.
The Leland hologram is already active when Pike enters his ready room, which I found weird. I mean, like the hologram's already active. He's just like standing there.
Section. Yeah, I bet you they can activate any
hologram.
Yeah, he might have hacked into it. What did you guys think
of the?
Watching
you dressed as an invisible hologram.
What did you guys think of the whole hiding as an asteroid floating? Like,
I like
Discovery
that.
not know, sir. There's an asteroid following us.
You got to think there's probably a lot of asteroids and shit out in space. Like even in unoccupied parts of the solar system, there's still like some rocks and stuff far away from each other floating around. The way that it decloaked though from asteroid, I really like that because to me that works better than if they just have complete cloaking technology like we would see later in Star Trek. And it also reminds me of the technology the Romulans used in season 4, the greatest season of Enterprise, when they had the ability to disguise their drone ship as other ships. So I feel like maybe Section 31 has repurposed that technology.
Right.
Yeah, and Section 31 is like they're an entity now in the show that can be given the freedom to use all kinds of technology that they can't really argue against because, I mean, come on, get real. I mean, if they used holograms, people at this hologram debate, they've used holograms before, 100 years before Discovery. We'll have holograms like 50 years, 25 years from now. Like communicating through holograms will be a thing in our lifetime.
I feel like they've been promising holograms like the 50s or 60s, and we still don't. We don't have flying cars. We don't have hoverboards. We don't have it's like, where is all this stuff?
They were able to resurrect Tupac into a hologram. Like,
yeah, but we have phones.
Oh, has anyone seen one of these holographic performances at a concert? Like, has anyone actually seen it? You have to have like a smoke screen or like you have to have dust particles on the stage in order for it to work. Oh, okay, gotcha.
A glass sheet, and you can look at it from different angles and see it as a 3D thing to an extent, but it's not really. It's just basically looking at something projected on a wall, almost. It's not. We're not nearly there yet, but we're getting there.
I thought the sequence where the Discovery jumps in the celestial plane was awesome. Like that it was liquidy, like it looked like a shipwreck almost, like if the Discovery ran aground on a coral reef. And in fact, that's actually a more appropriate analogy for the celestial network. Like it does, like all the plants do move, like if you're underwater. It does look like a kind of like a trippy space coral reef in a way. With a little
of a capsized ship that was slowly sinking.
I personally wouldn't have made it like aesthetically chosen to show it that way because I feel like the ship should have just been sliced and like visually inside normal space. You should have just seen like half of the ship, not the whole wavy shit. Because like that implies that the mycelial network is crossing into normal space and that there's like kind of.
I think it is. I think the maneuver that they did actually broke, like rift or fissure, and so what you're seeing is like from the point of impact out, you're actually seeing like a weird, hybrid is spotted. I loved it.
had I done it, it would have looked maybe less cool because all of this is to make it look very cool. But I think it would have made more sense just to have the ship kind of only be half appearing in normal space, as if it were like just chopped off. But then you would know that it's actually in another dimension or something.
That would confuse modern audiences, and their brains would explode. I think the visual there's so many visual flourishes in this show that are just designed to look pretty and
the budget is so high.
Yeah, and
kind of like
they believe they have
to
do this to justify the amount of money being spent. When in reality, if they did simpler shots, and I know some of the shots are really beautiful, but if they just held it back, there's an elevator shot in episode 1 where they show the outside of the elevator shaft, and it's all like robots and big open wide.
Yeah, it's terrible. I hate that. Everyone hates that.
It's totally unnecessary, and it would have saved them like I don't know $1 million. I don't know how much that would have cost. 500.
Well, I don't think. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever see that again.
They could have used that money to pay Sean to be an Endorian extra walking around on the background.
M. Night Shyamalan, whatever his name is, I forget his name.
The Endorian scant.
M. Night Shyamalan has the same kind of issue where when he does a movie with no budget, it's great, but then when you give him like a bloated budget, he does The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
So
or After Earth.
Well, okay, so
or wait,
Star Trek Discovery. What's that?
What was the other reference you made, PJ?
Oh, After Earth.
Oh, After Earth.
So Discovery's the same thing. They should maybe like pull the budget back, like restrain them, and they would have like if you had less of a budget, then you wouldn't have like the opportunity to flourish the show with all of this bullshit. You'd have to concentrate on making the story interesting and focus on the plot, and then you could have simpler shots. Anyway, you wouldn't have to do all this hologram shenanigan all the time.
Yeah. I think they made. I think the next half of the season might be a bit. I don't know how much they blew on the first few episodes or whatever that they could. I don't know if they made up for it in the second half, but maybe they were given less money for the second half, and we probably might get more thoughtful.
Well, apparently Gretchen J. Berg and Aaron Harvitz went way over budget on episode 1, and so that contributed to that and the other thing. Got them fired, right? But
the funny thing is that first episode was directed by Alex Kurtzman. So if you want to put on a tinfoil hat and be conspiracy theorist, did Alex Kurtzman directing that episode blow up the budget to get Berg and Harberts fired so that he could just run the show himself?
So I'm not saying anything,
Wow.
and I don't want to advance anything, but I find it very convenient that Alex Kurtzman, only weeks after the firing of Gretchen J. Berg and Aaron Harvitz, came up with his 5-year plan for expanding the Star Trek universe and everything. It's very, I don't know. It works very well in his favor. I'm very happy about the situation, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm very happy that Alex Kurtzman is taking charge and running this thing.
Yeah, the idea of getting all these other shows, that's great.
And hopefully the plot holes and inconsistencies, which aren't like a lot in season 2 so far. It's better than season 1, but maybe in the second half, if it's actually better and more fleshed out and more logical, that could be an indication that Alex Kurtzman's influence or taking over the franchise is a good sign. And I'm not sure about him yet. I mean,
people aren't sure about it.
Season 2 could fall apart for all we know. So
I think when we see the Picard show, either late this year or early next year. They're saying it'll come out this year, but I'm skeptical.
Oh, Starfleet's always late.
Yeah, I think that'll be the true testing ground for Kurtzman's leadership.
A December 2019 release date is realistic if they start filming in April, which they are. So it's apparently it's only 10 episodes. So
yeah, it's just weird to premiere right before Christmas because that's gonna
Oh
really
my
zap your
God.
ratings.
I have a theory about the Picard show. I think the first episode of the Picard show is going to take place on New Year's Eve, 23/99, and it's going to air on December 31st, 2019.
Oh yeah, what?
That would be cool.
Hey Google, what day of the week is December 31st?
The 31st of December 2019 falls on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, huh? It'll be ready Tuesday, like Star Trek Generations. There we go.
Starfleet Boy's gone.
Starfleet Boy's gone. The
Oh.
host is gone. We've lost our captain. What do we do? Call Saru. God,
When did he vanish?
he vanished. I don't. Well, you guys were talking about when it's gonna air.
Oh my god.
Oh my God, what do we do? Carry on. Let the show go on. Anyway, I wasn't sure about this episode. The thing is, I really liked it the first time I watched it, but then when I rewatched it the second time, a lot of these details bugged me because I was all enchanted by the whole sci-fi concept of the mycelial network and all of that. But then when I rewatched it the second time, I focused more on the details and, I suppose the nitpicking. Which, to be fair, is what I do to all of the shows.
I had the opposite experience. When I first watched it, I was very disappointed. But then after I watched it a couple other times, and also like I saw some other people's reactions, and like I watched Kit Walski's video, and he really liked it, and like after some other people kind of brought up the more positive things in it, it made me realize that it was better than I initially gave it credit for. I'm still a little conflicted on it.
Yeah, I don't like the whole Giorgio thing and tricking us into thinking we're going to meet somebody when we're not going to meet them.
The Spock tease.
Well, they're doing it a lot.
Yay! Starfleet Boy has returned.
Has
he?
He can't quite cross into normal space yet.
He's tried to make it out of the mycelial network. we need his DNA.
We need to transfer his body. Who has his DNA?
We need the mycelial cocoon.
I was watching Trek Yards, and they brought up a good point about the crossing over between when the ship is in the mycelial network, and how they say it's going to eat through the hull. But if the network is also inside the ship, shouldn't it be eating through the hull inside, or shouldn't it be eating through
Yeah, if Tilly and May could get in the ship, then you would think that a lot of the other Josep would come in also. Unless maybe they had to go through an airlock that they just opened for a little bit and they walked in and the doors closed.
It's worse than that. It's implied that the ship is half in the mycelial network and half in normal space, which means that the mycelial network technically should be both inside and outside the ship. Because when you're in normal space, you're not in normal space only outside the ship, you're in normal space inside as well.
But why are the spores attacking the outside but not anything else? I don't get that. But anyway, yeah.
But they are attacking the inside, aren't they? Because it's got that black effect, right? It's just that
okay, it's eating it away slowly, yeah.
I think that there's a different, the network itself, the environment itself is attacking the ship from all angles. It's just that the Jaseps, or whatever they're called, they are physically attacking from the outside, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay, that kind of works. There was a cool special effect when it showed the rings spinning when they come out of the mycelial network, and you see whenever the portions of the ship that spin when it comes out of the mycelial network, you see that the hull has been damaged from the Josep eating through it. Well, that was a cool little visual effect they did.
I like that. I also hope they evacuated all of those spinny rings, because if they didn't, they just straight up murdered everyone that was in the two rings.
They just go through there and get Cronenberged like Rick and Morty.
Okay, I love the fact that they made a reference to the USS Glenn and to what happened on the USS Glenn, because it kind of felt like closure to me. We went to the USS Glenn, we see all these mangled bodies, and then we just never talk about it again. We now have two Starfleet boys in our discussion.
It's
like
Starfleet
Kirk
Boy
in that
and Mirror
episode,
Universe
floating
Starfleet
around,
Boy.
He's like, "Can you hear
That's so
me?
weird.
Can you see me?"
I'm so glad you guys are still there.
Yeah.
Wait, we have two of you now.
I'm ejecting the Mirror Starfleet Boy. He's
Oh
gone.
god.
What if that was actually the Prime Starfleet Boy and this
Oh,
is
no.
the Mirror Universe one?
no.
What did I miss? What's going on? What
Everything.
I can't do video. Something's wrong with our internet here.
Well, you're in the nebula.
Yes,
So-
it's true.
Yeah, you're talking to one of those modified communicators that Saru gave Burnham.
Anybody have any predictions for next episode? Have you seen the trailer?
I haven't
Yeah,
seen the
it's-
trailer.
Yes, I saw the trailer.
Okay,
all
let's
about-
not talk about it then.
Well,
I don't wanna
you-
spoil it.
Okay.
I know that it's going to be a Kelpian episode, though.
Okay,
Someone
all
already
right, well.
told me. So,
But the monster in it looks sick.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it
I didn't
actually
see that.
fucked up.
Bowl. Okay, the bowl looks like what's his
A
name?
Dementor.
Yeah, but crossed with
Armus.
Armus? Yeah.
Yes.
It's insane. I
it's
like
like
Is
a
that the
tar
bowl?
monster looking thing.
Yeah, it is, really.
I'm pretty sure that's a Baul.
Yeah, well, that is a bowl, clearly. But then the bowl apparently are like a warp capable species.
It's weird. Maybe that's the creature that they feed. Maybe that's their god, and they have to feed him.
Okay, so the bowl is like the bowl are the anti-red angels, right? They're the red angel. They're the fallen red angels.
They're like the devils.
I like the
It
devils.
does look demonic, though. It really does look like something out of a crazy horror movie.
But as Gary suggested, they don't actually eat the Kelpians. What they do is they sell them to the mirror universe
Yeah, that makes sense.
because the demand is so high in the mirror universe. They
I
need
think
the
we're
Kelpians,
done
right?
with the Mirror Universe on Discovery. I don't think we're going back there.
Do you notice how Sarah was like catfishing that being? He's like all tied up. He's like, "This is a lie."
That was a great use of catfishing. We need Neve Schumann on the episode, like revealing that it's a catfish. That's funny. Did you guys talk about anything while I was gone, or just about
No,
how I was in the
nothing.
nebula?
We talked about the mycelial network eating the ship.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to listen. I'll have to go back and listen to the discussion. But yeah, it all just seemed like coral and like water. It was very cool. I thought it was interesting.
Like the little black stuff floating off of the surfaces in the ship that looked kind of like the water droplets from season 1, episode 3, when they did the Black Alert.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that was the universe. Oh, look at that thing. That does look like Armus
Look at that
from
Here, let's.
Skin of Evil.
It's hideous.
It kind of looks like Venom.
Yeah, it's got a very symbiotic look to it.
Let me give you the chair here. Oh, I'm gonna get a content warning from CBS.
You are? Okay.
Yeah. Probably also because I said it. No, I guess not. Maybe it's quick enough, but yeah.
They would have to be
There's no-
really fickle to.
there's no-
Those
there's no-
ships are cool.
There it is.
Oh, wow.
It's friggin' scary. I love it though. But
Yeah,
then
those red eyes look cool. That looks
okay. So
badass.
you guys noticed the acting. It does look like Doug Jones.
It's not. It's Doug Jones clarified that it was this other actor who's in Slender Man, and he's actually I think he's taller and skinnier than
Okay, because
Doug Jones, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Okay. Because it was kind of all.
I forget his name.
He's doing the
Yeah,
Doug Jones style.
Did y'all see? I don't know if any of y'all watched Buffy the
Look up
Vampire Slayer,
look up
but
Slender Man, and you'll find the guy's name.
Okay.
look up the gentleman from Buffy that Doug Jones played, this really creepy looking villain in season 4 of Buffy, an episode called Hush.
Oh yeah.
Slenderman, portrayed by Doug Jones and Javier Botet.
Yeah, it's a French name, isn't it?
No, Spanish, I think.
Oh,
Javier.
Spanish, okay.
Oh god.
Javier
Yeah.
is it's a pretty common name
Oh,
in Texas.
Javier.
It's a
Okay, so
common Spanish name.
He's
Is
in,
Javier Harvey? Is that the same thing?
so
How
he
was
was
Javier in English?
he was in Slenderman. It. The Mummy, Insidious,
The Alex Kurtzman mummy.
Rick 1, 2, and 3. Yes, the Alex Kurtzman Mummy. Hey, look, the Alex Kurtzman Mummy isn't as bad as people say it is.
That's what I hear. I need to watch it.
The Alex
Are you
Kurtzman
talking
Mummy
about?
is a challenge because it was supposed to set up the entire Dark Universe as well. It wasn't just a Mummy movie. I think that he did a respectable job on that.
He sounded like he was very unhappy when he was working on that movie. Like I read an interview with Kurtzman from right before Discovery season 2 premiered, where he talked about how he had kind of gotten depressed, wasn't very happy when he was like finishing editing The Mummy, and just a lot of the political atmosphere that we're in today had kind of made him kind of depressed, and it made him get in a headspace where he wanted to tell more meaningful stories and more optimistic stories, and it really made him want to focus on Star Trek more so than it sounded like he was thinking back when he wrote Star Trek '09 and Star Trek Into Darkness. And so I kind of think he might have matured as a storyteller who used to just kind of write these action-heavy popcorn, big budget movies.
Well, he wrote Transformers 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah.
But then he jumped ship. He got out of that before it went completely. Well, I mean, Transformers 2 already has like.
Hey, everyone's
Transformers
saying
with balls, I
Bumblebee. Everyone's saying Bumblebee is like awesome.
Yeah, I need to see it.
Bumblebee
It is
movie.
legit.
Okay.
It's the best Transformers movie, that's for sure.
That is a low bar. No, the best Transformers movie came out in 1986, and it was animated.
You got the search.
No, Bumblebee is a good movie. I found it to be one of the one of the more interesting movies that I've seen this year.
I want to see it.
Well, it sounds like from our ancillary discussions that we've exhausted about Star Trek Discovery season 2, episode 5, Saints of Imperfection. Do you guys know what that's an homage to? I didn't have time to look it up. Does anyone know why it's called that or what it means?
I hate the titles of. I think the
Point of Light
titles
was
in
good.
this show are so like they're always referring to Greek mythology somehow, and it's like just give us a straightforward title. Like
I
you know?
love the titles in Discovery because they remind me of the original series.
The original
And
series, yeah, I was gonna say
not,
the same thing.
They're not these boring
Yeah,
Next
I got
Generation or Voyager titles.
They are try-hard titles, though.
Try hard titles.
They're trying so hard.
They're enticing. They make me want to watch. Like Context is for Kings. I want to watch that. That sounds cool.
But they sound fancier than the episode actually is.
Yeah,
That's
I
how,
agree.
that's how
They
the
sound
original
prof-
series was.
You know what an enticing
Yeah.
title is?
Well,
An
but-
enticing title is like death. Right? That's you call an episode death, you're like, holy shit, what's gonna happen, right? Context
No,
is
and-
for
and an
kings. Come on.
enticing title is like a mock time, or for the world is hollow and I have touched the sky, or the savage
Yes.
curtain. Those are enticing titles.
My favorite title from Discovery so far is "Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad." It's like
That was cool.
it's a nice title and it's fun, but I don't like titles like "Civis Possum Parabellum" and what was the other one? A Noble for Charon or Charon and all this
Brother,
shit.
New Eden, those work.
Yeah, those work.
Those were the worst
Um,
two, in my opinion.
Would it be
Oh, come on.
Yeah, right.
would it be great or awful if Culber ends up being like not quite human?
Culber snaps Stamets' neck.
Oh yeah, they would get so much backlash. You're like, we're not going to bury our gay characters. Oh, think again, we are.
Yeah, they just murder each other. God.
Oh,
No,
my
I think Culber's going to be back to normal, and they're retconning a lot of the things that they did in season 1. They're just retconning them in a way that kind of like they're trying to make it make sense in the story. It's not like Prison Break where they just decapitate someone and bring her back.
They
I
do
was
tie it
really
up nicely though, with
I
the
was
whole. Yeah, go ahead.
I was really enjoying Dr. Pollard. Do you think she'll remain? Was she on in season? Was she around in the background in season 1, or what's the deal with her character?
She appeared right after Culber died. Then we started seeing her.
Is she the chief medical officer?
I think that's a fair assumption. I don't think they've ever stated that clearly because they don't do that on Discovery.
I want a chief medical officer, and I want a chief engineer, and I want engineering.
Promote Jet Reno to chief engineer and make her the chief.
Exactly. They could have killed someone in this episode. That someone like go through the like the
Yeah, that would have been cool
border,
to see.
and they would have
That
killed the
would
chief
have been.
engineer. They would have
Oh,
killed
and they
the chief
rotate.
engineer, and then they bring in Reno as the chief engineer. They said this guy was the chief engineer all along. Now he's dead, so who cares? But now Reno's the chief engineer. That could have been cool.
Well, totally joking, but there wasn't a political reason to kill anyone this episode, so there was no.
It would have satisfied my lust to see more mangled bodies, like in the
You
USS.
know what I would have liked?
I did like
Tignataro
the
to
reference
play?
to the Glen in this episode too, by the way.
It would have been
Sorry,
nice
go
to see Tignataro just as the engineer. They didn't have to like find her. She could have just showed up and said, "Well, I'm the engineer." Blah blah. And they could, "Hey, Chief Engineer of Reno." But then you wouldn't have the Hiawatha rescue mission, I guess. So.
And you wouldn't have had the
kinda
space
like
race, the
her-
pod.
But is it
Oh, yeah,
safe
pod
to
race, yeah.
assume that is it safe to assume that we do have a chief engineer? We just haven't met that character yet. Is that
Yeah,
There
what's
is
going
one.
on?
We just
Okay.
haven't seen him.
Because
Or
Reno
her.
said last week that
Chief
the
engineer
chief
sent
engineers sent me over here to work on the
Gotcha.
put something up on the firewall or something like that.
Chief engineer sent me to put gum in the wall.
Yeah, to lock out the critical propulsion systems behind a firewall with gum. Grape flavored.
Oh boy.
I would love the
I
chief
guess-
engineer to be O'Brien, like an ancestor of O'Brien. Like an Irish
that
guy.
would be really cool. That would be really cool.
He's like, "You're fixing it with gum."
So I guess we'll give it ratings and closing statements. I will go first because Sean does not trust my ratings. He thinks I changed them.
Hey. The doctor doesn't trust your ratings.
It's true. It's true.
I don't believe your ratings. I think they're all false. You give everything 10s, and that doesn't count.
Well, so far this season, except for last episode, I think I gave it a 9.5. I have to give this episode another 10. I'm sorry. I really loved it. And like, I
You
know
offended me,
it's such
sir.
a flip from last season. I know I offend you, but I'll be that one person. I'll represent that part of the world right now, which is the I've drunk the Kool-Aid so far. It's a 5 episodes. I'm overdosing on
Are there
the Kool-Aid.
shrooms in it?
Okay, so just
There's
curious,
shrooms.
if you were to rate the Expanse episodes, they would all be like 15s out of 10, right?
Right. Yes. No. It's true. The
Okay.
Expanse is holy. I don't think it can be rated. It's such a beautiful show. Do you guys watch The Expanse?
I haven't watched it yet. I know, shame
Ugh.
on me. Fuck you, Father. You need to watch it.
It's
but
honestly, I want it to be Enterprise. I wish Enterprise was The Expanse. Like that's how. Like we've talked about this, Sean and I, but I feel like The Expanse is set in the past of Star Trek.
I tried watching 3 episodes. I got through 3, and then I didn't like it. And then somebody said, if you're not into the first season, start at season 2 because that's when it really gets going. And they told me I don't need to see the first season. So I don't know. I got a good sense of the characters in the first 3 episodes. I like Thomas Jane.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to try and watch a couple of random episodes because sometimes that works for a show you're not so sure about. That has like 2 or 3 seasons.
Maybe watch episodes like the 2 final episodes of season 1.
Okay.
I would say
Because
also.
Because if you want to get somebody into Game of Thrones, tell them to always watch the second last episode of a season to really
Really?
sell them on like, you know.
I think
would
you
say
should
watch
watch.
the 2 last episodes of season 1.
Okay.
I think you
That
should
can
just
work.
watch it. I think you should just trudge through it, and because it'll click eventually, and then things from season 1 will make sense when they reference them later on. You know what I mean? But I
That
don't know.
strategy worked for me with Breaking Bad though, because I think I started watching Breaking Bad. I see a bit of episodes in the first season, like 1 or 2, and I was like, this show is not for me. And then I watched the first episode of season 2, and I'm like, this show is awesome.
So the reason I gave this episode a 10 is because I thought we had so much Star Trek. We had biological transporters. We had the mycelial plane. We had this like really cool explanation for bringing back Dr. Culber. We had, even though it's not like, the whole episode was balanced out, even though Section 31 stuff wasn't as as strong. It was still really cool and interesting, and I know it's going to pay off when we get the Section 31 show. I liked seeing Admiral Cornwall. I like that whole exchange. Everything to me just clicked, and this season feels like Star Trek, whereas my biggest complaint was last season didn't feel like Star Trek. So I'm kind of giving these 10s for the first 5 episodes, if you will. Like, it's like, it's just like everything's just like coming together really nicely for me. So whoever wants to go next, give your rating, and if you want to give a closing statement, that'd be cool.
I have a feeling what the next episode is going to be rated for Starfleet Boy. I think I can predict the ratings for the rest of the season, but
I don't know. We don't know. I don't know. I may not love the next. Who knows? I'm open to not having another 10, but Discovery's on a roll.
I'll go next. The rating, though, should it be from like an objective standpoint, if I'm just like rating an episode of TV, or should it be more from like my personal?
Ratings are always subjective anyway.
Yeah, we started the rating system just because, like, on the show, because we didn't know if we should have a rating system or not, and so we erred on the side of a rating system. If I had to do it all over again, I would not rate any episodes because it's really tough. It is very subjective. It's very in the moment. Sean says I'm in the hype right now.
Because I don't do that. I don't do that on Text Track. I try to give ratings.
I try to rate on Starfleet Boy each episode based on kind of like my whole knowledge of Star Trek. Like when we rate a TNG episode, I'll put Darmok very high, I'll put The Inner Light very high. And so objectively, I can't put this episode that high because it ain't no Inner Light, right? Or it ain't
Sean has a continuity. He has a continuity for his ratings. I don't.
I try to have the ratings make sense, together.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy just gives everything 10s, right?
So
here, I actually like the sorry, not to interrupt you, Fathery, but
you're good.
I actually like the scale that Sean came up with, and even though we're only going to use it on Drunk Space Nine, just to give you an idea, Sean, to me this episode was great.
Then that's not a 10 out of 10.
It is, because he's
10 out of 11 technically.
It's a 10 out of 11, so it actually works. It's an 11-point scale on his thing.
Okay, well, I know what I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a 6.047 out of 10.
Nice. Any closing thoughts about this episode?
My closing thoughts is that I think it's a good episode. It's a fine product of modern TV. But as a longtime Star Trek fan and a bit of a continuity snob, it kind of did rub me the wrong way, how they're using Section 31. I always say that I'm fine with changing something in Star Trek as long as you change it to the better, then I'll learn to accept it. I'll get over it. But I don't like the more out in the open Section 31 as much as the more secretive, mysterious Section 31. And I'm still not 100% sure what's going on with the spore drive and the mycelial network. And I do kind of have issues with just like killing a character and then conveniently resurrecting them. I'm happy for the characters, but I don't feel like that is the best writing. I overall had a positive reaction to the episode, but because of these issues I'm having, it's only going to be a 6 out of 10 or a 6.047 out of 10.
Excellent.
I would also give it a 6, but just a 6. I like the Culber stuff. I don't mind how convoluted that kind of is. Like, he transferred his essence over into the mycelial network when he was, phasing in and out. I'm glad they kind of tied that all together. The stuff with the references to the USS Glenn, and I still like Pike. I like Leland. I don't like Giorgio, and I don't like how this May thing and how they explain the science of the mycelial network. It just didn't. It seemed like a bit magic, but I did buy the whole Culber returning thing. So I want to see if there are any consequences to him coming back now. So
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I give it a 6 as well.
Wow,
it's a pretty alright episode. It's
the mark of the beast.
Yeah, and
I know.
It's not as
you
good as
saved
New
it.
Eden.
You saved it with the .047.
So we're not going to open a portal to hell.
Yeah.
They have to go in there and rescue our doctor friend from the mushroom people.
I think you guys pretty much said everything that needs to be said about the episode.
So do we have an average that's totally skewed because of the 10 out of 10?
Well,
I think three
and
strong
10.
six. I think 3 strong 6s actually pull it down. So if you guys are okay, I say 7 for the whole.
Yeah, seems fair.
Is that okay? So Starfleet Boy ranking or rating for this episode is a 7. I think that's pretty solid, actually, when you think about it. Not bad. Good, solid TV. Damn fine cup of coffee right here. That's right. Anyways, guys, this was a real joy. We went on for like quite a while discussing and having. It was fun as you guys coming on. Audience, please comment in the. You can't see me making the gestures, so if you guys will point down for me, please, thank you. Please below, subscribe and hit the little bell so you get a 3-hour episodes. And then also let us know what your thoughts are. I love to get into discussions on the YouTube as well. Also, please listen to our podcasts and also visit the YouTube channels and websites of these 3 fine gentlemen who came to join me today in this discussion. So you can go to text-trek, right?
Yeah, that's my website.
For Fathery. Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to let the audience know to go look at a video, your recent video or anything like that?
Yeah, we have a podcast on Star Trek Discovery available every Sunday in both audio-only formats as well as videos on YouTube. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and follow me on Twitter at TXTruck.
Ooh, I'm not following you on Facebook. I'm going to do that today.
Yeah, I actually have like so many more Facebook followers than anything else. I have like 1,300 Facebook followers for some
right
reason.
on.
I don't know why, but
now you have 1,301.
well, I appreciate that.
And PJ, you could go to PJ's channel and check out his videos. I'm really happy that you're doing more videos, dude. Thank you.
Am I?
Yeah, you've been doing the live. I haven't tuned in. Like sometimes I'm like at work when they come on, but still, I think I get the notifications and it's exciting.
I did do one video recently about how I'm disappointed that we're not going to see the Enterprise bridge.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry, guys, if I'm keeping you from anything, but can we talk about that? Is that true, or like, what is that room? What is going on with that?
I've heard conflicting reports on that, but according to the set designer lady, I can't remember her name. PJ, do you remember her name?
Tamara Deverell.
Yeah, she said that she did not get the opportunity to build the Enterprise bridge, and that she wished that she could, because she said she would have drawn a lot from the look of the original series.
Drawn a lot from? What do you mean? As in not do it right?
Oh, she also said that with Spock's quarters, she said that she wanted to like rebuild something that looked more like the original series, but they didn't have the time. She was like, we had the money, but we didn't have the time, so I had to redress a Discovery set.
I feel, God.
Yeah, I'm not. She wanted to. If she was going to build the Enterprise bridge, she wanted to make it look more like TOS. I think that's just a line that she's saying, like, I could have and it wouldn't have looked like it. I don't know. We all thought we were going to definitely
put
see it.
red, and it was look, it's TOS. It's
yeah.
Red.
Well,
but
the transition shot between
Truck Yards reported that they did build it and that we'll see it at the end of the season.
There's confusion because the set photographer for Discovery put a picture out on Instagram where he's with Alex Kurtzman and he says, here on the Enterprise set build. And everybody took that as, that's confirmation that it's being built. Well, maybe he was just misspeaking. Maybe it was the Section 31 ship and he didn't know the difference.
Do you guys think it's actually a wise decision that they're not really showing the Enterprise, that we don't really get to see these things? Like, in a way, it kind of makes sense.
Not a thing in this season anyway, so
yeah.
I mean, if they're not going to do it right, then don't do it at all.
Yeah, which is kind of how I feel about Discovery, the show. But
Okay, we're out of the nitpick corner. No, just kidding. All right, so no, but anyways,
I feel like they
No, but-
should maybe restrain like from doing more and more things that we know, like that we've already seen, we already know. Like
Yeah.
you've given us Pike and Spock and number one, and that's okay to give us more of Pike and more of number one because we don't know them too much. Don't go too far out with the Spock, and don't go too far out with. But then characters, I suppose, can evolve and change and grow. But then when you're dealing with tech, just limit yourselves to what damage you've already done, and maybe not go too far.
I hope they do
Yeah.
Telothians right. Because I think they'll find Spock on Talos 4 for some reason.
Oh wow, fascinating, neat theory. Anyways, PJ's channel, and then we can. Where else can we follow you? Anything to,
You can follow me on Twitter at PJ's Channel 1.
and any point the audience to?
Nah.
Okay. And then finally, we have Sean from Trek on
I ain't
the
serious.
Trek on the Tube, and you can go to his probably on Monday, maybe, but definitely by Tuesday he'll have his review for this episode up.
Don't
Right?
say that. God damn.
Giving them a deadline.
Probably
But-
not Monday. Hopefully Tuesday. Most likely Wednesday.
Can I just remind
Anyways,
your audience, is this going to be up today? Like, is this going to be online
Yes.
today?
Yes.
Okay, so Ketwalski is putting out a video responding to Midnight Edge's claims about the rights behind Discovery,
Mm.
and I'm really looking forward to that. So just keep an eye out for that.
I have seen
All
it.
right.
Amazing.
And that's tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's great.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Nice
I'll
promo.
be sure to check that out.
Yeah. It's
And while
great.
we're at
Everyone
it-
watch it.
Yeah. And while we're at it, we may as well mention our absent friends. So go check out Ketwalski's channel, The Real Ketwalski, and also check out Trekker Prize, who's responsible for our beautiful channel graphics. And then also check out Trek Book Club, Trekkie Rob. So those are the Starfleet boy. That's the bridge crew, I guess. So I give you guys a bridge salute today. Thank you for joining me. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time. Would you guys do the salute since I can't?
Do we have to stand up and clap?
No, okay, you can do a bridge clap. No, you don't have to. All right.